Well, hello and thanks for joining me again for some more landscape photography. As you can see, it's a pretty grim day at the moment, but I am hopeful it's going to brighten up, and today I'm on the Snowdon Watkin path. Now, as I mentioned, the forecast has it brightening up in about an hour or so. At the moment, there's absolutely no sign of any light whatsoever, no texture in the sky, nothing to work with. And all the mist is up on the mountain tops, not down here in the woodlands. So I can't even make any use of that, but I have a plan. What I'm going to do is head on up to the lovely hanging valley at Cwm Llan and then gradually work my way back down. So come along with me. I'm sure it's going to be a really good day out, and hopefully we'll get some decent images. Well, now this is in danger of becoming the shortest video I've ever made. Part of the reason for that is that the weather forecast has something of a disparity between forecast and actual. Put it this way, if I ran my businesses like that, I'd be bankrupt in minutes. It's been absolutely tipping it down for the last 3 hours. No sign of the break, which was supposed to come around about 2 hours ago. And it looks like it's set in for the day, so I'm probably just going to head back down. At the moment, I've come up to the hanging valley at Cwm Llan. I'm sheltering under the big fir tree next to the old quarry manager's derelict cottage. If you know this path at all, you'll know exactly where I am at the moment. Luckily, I'm equipped with my brolly, so I'm not actually wet, but the problem I've had is the wind is swirling the rain about and my camera's getting soaked in seconds. So even though I've attempted 1 or 2 handhelds on the way up, I really don't hold out much hope that anything much is going to be usable. The main problem I have is that what I set out to shoot today is completely not feasible. The reason I picked the Watkin path is simply because we're about to go into lockdown again, and this particular route gives me a really nice mix of some mountain scenery, some moving water, which is something I haven't shot for quite some time, and I really wanted to try and do something with the Watkin Falls, which with the rain that we've had recently are looking quite spectacular at the moment. So that was my intention, and if the sun had come out when it was supposed to, it would have illuminated all that 20 or 30 cascades, which would have been pretty spectacular. It's now not to be at all, and I can't set my camera up on the tripod because it's soaked in seconds, and I really do need to get the right shutter speed to make the most of this water. I don't want to freeze it. I don't want to be grabbing quick handhelds. It just doesn't work. No point at all. That's not what I'm here for. And the other thing, of course, then is that to add into the mix is the lovely woodland with the autumn colours and the damp moss and all that sort of thing down at the foot of the path. So I thought, I've got one last run out for a few weeks before lockdown. I've got 3 distinct types of photograph that I can go for, and as it stands at the moment, I don't think I'm going to get a single thing. So I'm probably just going to call it, head back down. If there is anything to show you based on some handheld snaps, I'll put them on at the end for you to enjoy. I don't know. The other thing I was going to do up here was to record a Q&A, which simply isn't going to work. So I'll do that again, because I do have quite a few questions that I've been stacking up where people very kindly write into the comments. And rather than reply in the comments, I say, oh yeah, I'll do a Q&A video, and then I never get round to it. So apologies to anybody who's had a reply like that. I promise I will get back to you. Anyway, what a pity. I mean, let's be fair, it's a lovely walk. I don't care about the rain. This brolly is absolutely brilliant. It's an ultra lightweight trekking umbrella. 6 Moons design, apparently, and it's fantastic. Just attach it to your shoulder strap, and I walked up with my trekking poles completely hands-free. As long as it isn't too windy, it's absolutely brilliant. Plus it's silvered, and I've even used it when I was out recently where we had a lot of lens flare to shield the lens, so really handy. But I think I'm going to have to leave it here for this one by the looks of it. Well, as they always say in these sort of situations, I hope you can hear me, because it's as loud as hell here right by the main cascade. This is the shot that I really wanted today with the beautiful autumn colours. The conditions haven't let up at all, and the problem I've got is that the camera is having to point upwards, which is straight into the direction that the solid drizzle is coming from. So it's a real nightmare keeping my optics dry, and I really don't know if I've pulled it off. What I've done is I've had all sorts of trouble with the inside the filters misting up, but I really needed the polarizer because otherwise it's just a big picture full of glare, and I wanted to create those definition in between the cascades and the pools. So you can't tell on the back of the camera whether or not I've pulled it off. It's a case of wipe the lens, grab the shot, keep your fingers crossed that it doesn't get too wet in the meantime. My composition has some nice trees with just a few remnants of autumn colour on them, up to the peaks at the top there, but with the cascade zigzagging down through the image, and that's what I particularly wanted. What I had intended to do was to work my way along these cascades. There are about 20 or 30 of them, and you can get right down to them and really work the compositions, but it's just been far too challenging today. I'll definitely come back and have another go at them when it's slightly more benign. I think I'm probably going to leave it there for this one. I will grab a few handhelds as I walk back down through the woods, because they're not so dependent on a slow shutter. I can rack up my ISO. Before I forget, the settings for this, by the way, I've closed my aperture down to f11 so that I could get a shutter speed of about 1/10 of a second, which is just about perfect for water that's moving at this speed. Have to be careful not to clip the highlights because it's really quite a high dynamic range despite the lack of sunlight. The water is very white and the backdrop and the rocks are very dark. Anyway, it remains to be seen whether it's worked out or not. The composition, well, kind of makes itself. It's such a nice scene. It's a really easy shot in better conditions. But anyway, listen, this is the way that photography is sometimes. I've had a really enjoyable time despite the conditions. You can't beat being out and about in the mountains. And of course, with lockdown coming soon, who knows when I'll be back. Well now, despite my trials and tribulations, I have had a fabulous time out today. You just can't beat the mountains in any conditions, to be honest. The landscape photography, well, sometimes that has to be secondary. But thank you ever so much for coming along with me. I really hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have, why not subscribe now and join me next time. Cheers.